Hello, everyone. We are the mariachi here at Luther Burbank High School, and we're going to be performing a few songs for you before this whole event kicks off. Uh, Our first singer will be Andrew Baltazar.
This song that I'm going to sing next is composed by one of the greatest composers in Mexico, and his name is Jose Alfredo Jimenez. And this song is El Rey. Yo sé bien que estoy afuera, pero el día que yo me muera, sé que tendrás que llorar. Llorar, 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 llorar. Dirás que no me quisiste, pero vas a estar muy triste y así te me vas a quedar. Con dinero y sin dinero, yo hago siempre lo que quiero y mi palabra es la ley. No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me comprenda, pero sigo siendo el rey. Y una piedra en el camino me enseñó que mi destino era rodar y rodar. Rodar y rodar, rodar y rodar. Después me dijo un arriero que no va a llegar primero, pero hay que saber llegar. Con dinero y sin dinero, yo hago siempre lo que quiero y mi palabra es la ley. No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me comprenda, pero sigo siendo el rey.
Okay, so the song that I'll be singing is by Lupita Infante, Pedro Infante's granddaughter. So it'll be Laughing in the No es normal que te traiga serenata, pero ya mi corazón no puede más. No me importa lo que digan tus vecinos, no entenderás lo que sentimos. Te amo por mensajes muy fríos. Lo antiguo siempre gana el del amor. Con mariachi gritaré que eres mío. Para querer tengo mi estilo. pasión que no se acaba. De tus besos estoy enamorada. No te asustes que tu casa desaparezca cantando una dama. ¿Y quién dijo que las mujeres no llevan serenata? Eres tú lo más grande de mi vida. Es chiquito el mundo si me miras. He venido a recordarte que te amo como no te lo imaginas. Eres tú la pasión que no se acaba. De tus besos estoy enamorada. No te asustes que tu casa desaparezca cantando una dama. ¿Y quién dijo que las mujeres no llevan serenata?
Hello, the song today I will be singing is Como quien pierde la naciera, made famous by Alejandro Fernandez, and this is Como quien pierde la naciera.
Quiero lo diga como un lamento, como un que de vivo que le viento se lleva por donde quiera. Te quiero, qué pena verde perdido, como quien pierda una estrella que se le va al infinito. Ay, ay, quiero que sea la mi llanto, como me dio perderte después de caer de tanto. Diosito, dame consuelo para secarme adentro. Es tú que me está matando a día a día. que de equivoque el viento se
lleva por donde quiera. Te quiero, qué pena verte perdido, como quien pierde una estrella que se le va al infinito. Ay, quiero que se vaya mi llanto, como me dio perderte después de caer de tanto. Ay, después de quererla tanto, Diosito dame consuelo para secarme adentro. Es tú que me está matando a día a día. Quiero.
I'll be singing Ya ni me acuerdo by Lupita Infante, who's also Pedro Infante's granddaughter.
Two.
¿Cuántas noches fui a soñar cerca de ti y ya ni me acuerdo? Cuánto amor te di que te hiciera tan feliz, ya ni me acuerdo. Solo sé que en ti comencé a vivir momentos felices, porque comprendí que no hay más amor del que tú me diste. Entonces tus lindos labios y tu piel y ya ni me acuerdo cuánto no lloré a quedarme ya sin ti, ya ni me acuerdo. Pero a quién le digo que estaba contigo y que me estoy muriendo porque ya no estás conmigo. Pero a quién le digo que tienes otro amor y que yo no te olvido.
This last song of ours, we will be performing La Viquina, written by Ruben Fuentes.
La Virginia tiene pelo en los ojos. La Virginia con color del amor. La Virginia tiene pelo en los ojos. La Virginia con color del amor.
Pura Burbank, sí, señor.
And we are Mariachi Estrellas de Oro.
¡Sí, señor!
to and read whatever you have it there, but you also
It's yours. You have the option if you want it.
No, I'll just wait.
Your phone, but we leave it right there for the camera.
Yeah, I'll just close it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just leave it open that way you're.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah. I think it's better. It's okay? Can you hear it? Good evening. Thank you for joining the SAISD Redistricting Town Hall meeting and meet and greet with new SAISD Superintendent, Dr. Jaime Aquino. My name is Art Valdez, and I represent SAISD Single Member District 4. Please join me in thanking our Burbank students for their performances tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. I would like to recognize Burbank Principal Irene Talamantes and the outstanding teachers and staff from this campus for their support in hosting this event. Thank you. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping announcements. We have hands-on in Spanish and English for tonight's meeting. I want to remind audience members that we have headsets available for in-person Spanish interpretation and our Zoom session for those viewing from home. You can get the headsets at the sign-in table at the entrance. Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Cowell, and Robinson are here to go over some information about SAISD redistricting. Please note, this redistricting process does not affect the school your child will attend. It only affects which trustee represents your school. Before we move on, I wanted to express my gratitude to all the parents, students, teachers, and staff that are so dedicated to our students and their future. Let's give them also a round of applause. Thank you. We invite you to get involved in this community engagement process. Ask questions and provide feedback about proposed redistricting changes. Here are the 3 ways that you can ask questions and get more information. By using the QR code shown on the screen, you can submit questions about redistricting to us tonight or in the future. I am proud and excited for you to meet our new superintendent. Tonight, Dr. Jaime Aquino. In his 35 years in education, Dr. Aquino has served as a teacher, chief academic officer, and deputy superintendent in some of the largest school districts in the country, including New York, Los Angeles, and Denver. He has been successful by staying closely connected to the classroom. engaging students and parents, and working collaboratively with educators and administrators at every level of a school system. Dr. Aquino's journey as an immigrant and a teacher uniquely prepared him for becoming the San Antonio ISD superintendent. He brings with him a deep appreciation for San Antonio's multicultural community and the importance of building close relationships with families. Please welcome our new superintendent, Dr. Jaime Aquino.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Trustee Valdez, for that kind introduction. I am so honored and humble to be serving as the superintendent of the Great San Antonio Independent School District. It's an honor of a lifetime. And part of the reason that brought me here to the city of San Antonio is when I was doing my research and visited, I felt that this was a familia. And I wanted to be part of it. I have said it many times, I am San Antonio. I look like my students. I share some of their struggles as an immigrant who came to this country as an adult, as an English language learner who's still trying to learn English. So I know some of the challenge, but also the possibility. So that's why I really wanted to join this amazing community. And one of the things I have said many times, I don't care for the title of superintendent. The only title I really care is about being a teacher. That's what I wanted to do my entire life. I thought I was going to die in the classroom, and I became an administrator by accident. But I am blessed because it's given me an opportunity to serve a larger number of students. But I guess as you see on that slide, when I'm leading with a teacher's heart, every time we make a decision, I want to think about, if I were in the classroom, would this be the right decision that will help us make a difference in the life of our kids? So I am honored to be here and to serve the board and all the students and family. I want to start by sharing, like, how are the children in the San Antonio Independent School District? And I have some amazing news. You probably know it, but it's worth repeating. That's how good it is. I am so proud and happy to say that the district has maintained its B rating by the Texas Education Agency accountability. That is unbelievable, because we have had the hardest 2 years in public education, not only here, across the country. For us to maintain a B rating, and not only that, we increased 2 or 3 points, so we have a solid B. That it is amazing. And the news gets even better. We have this year, 63% of our schools have been rated either an A or a B. And that is compared to 2019, pre-pandemic, where we only had 27. So from 27 to 63%, it is unbelievable. And we have reduced significantly the number of schools that are not rated, meaning they scored D or below. We had 39 in 2019, and now we're only down to 10. Still a lot, but it's incredible. We're nowhere near where we ought to be, but we're nowhere near where we used to be. So it's incredible progress. In addition to that, I'm really happy to say that in reading, we achieve pre-pandemic levels in every single grade. And in some grade, we actually surpass our pre-pandemic level. That's an amazing celebration, because we hear this concept of learning loss, the kids when they were because of COVID, but we have caught up. And that is because of the great work of everybody in the community, our principals, assistant principal, teachers, and parents, and more importantly, our students. And if you can see on this slide, in 2017, we had almost 24,000 students who were attending what we consider, or the state consider, failing school. We have reduced that this year to a little over 2,700. Still a lot, a significant reduction of almost 20,000 students who are no longer being taught in a low performing school. And here are some of the highlights for single member District 4, led by our great trustee Valdez. Herf Elementary and Harris Middle School both increased from 2019 from an F to a B rating. Yeah, thank you. That's sir. Kelly Elementary and Green Elementary, I see Ms. Soto here, the principal of Green Elementary, earn all possible 6 out of 6 distinctions. Thank you to those communities. Highland Park Elementary maintained an A rating, while Kelly, which I was actually there this morning, Elementary improved from a B to an A rating. And I can tell you, I can see why by being in that school this morning. And the Great Burbank High School increased from a C to a B rating, with 94% of the class of 2021 graduating on time. That, let me tell you, across the country, to get those numbers are so difficult. So thank you to our principal, Irene, and the entire staff. Thank you for showing the nation and the rest of the world that the way kids come to us is no excuse for the way they leave us. It doesn't matter that our students come from low income, that their parents might not speak English. We are demonstrating that we can dream big and we can make the impossible a reality. So thank you for all that. And then I still have even more great news, which is we as the district have exceeded our enrollment projection. We are 45,000 students strong. Actually, as of today, we have 719 students above our enrollment projection. And some of you here or our folks on Zoom will say, oh, Jaime, 719, that's nothing. It is an incredible accomplishment, which for the last 10 years, we have seen declining enrollment. So for the first time, we are seeing an increase. And I just spent this morning, we're going to do a presentation to the board on October 11 from an enrollment landscape analysis that we had a consultant, and the news is not that positive in terms of the birth rate, fertility rate. So the fact that we were able to get 719 kids is an incredible feat. So we should be really, really proud of this. So I want to touch very briefly on safety and enhancement. I want to say first that all our schools are safe. And they're not safe because we have reacted to the tragedy that happened in one of our neighboring communities. They're safe because every single year, every school is dedicated to making sure the staff and children are safe. Safety is our utmost priority for everybody. And safety belongs to everybody. And I will tell you, whatever you heard and saw on the news, I stand here very proud on how the Jefferson community, high school community, the staff, the principal, and the teachers, and the students handle such a challenging situation. They adhere to our protocols, and our kids and staff were safe. Actually, our chief of school, San Antonio Police Department has said, and we spent some time talking to him and the other chiefs in the region, and he said, you guys have become a national model on how to address that issue. So Thank you to the Jefferson High School. But we have done this year, because of Ubalde, we have done some safety enhancement. So we have invested $40 million this school year to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm proud that the board was adamant that half of that, $20 million, had to be invested in mental health support to prevent students and family to get to the point of desperation that leads to tragedy. The other 20 million has been on physical and enhancement, and we have met all the requirements outlined by state law by the first day of school. And I'm going to tell you, we demonstrated last week that the district is prepared for any safety crisis. Okay, now where are we heading? I'm very proud that the board and my team at the beginning of my tenure, spent 2 days in a retreat, and we wanted to come up with what is our declaration statement? Where do we want to take the district? And this is what we came up. We declare the possibility that the San Antonio ISD is an inclusive familia that is the destination of transformational learning that makes the impossible a reality by demonstrating a relentless and urgent commitment to love, nurture, and teach all our kids as if they were our own, so that they have the power to shape the world and leave it in a better place for future generations. I am really proud of this declaration statement. I think it's the only declaration statement in this nation that has a word in Spanish, familia. And we could have said family, but those of you know it better than me because I'm a transplant. I've been here only 4 months, but I think the word familia captured the essence of San Antonio. And also having a word in Spanish ties us to our tradition, our heritage. So really proud of that, and really proud that we're not only here to teach, but we're going to love and nurture all kids like if they were our own. And this will take us to our commitment. We are committed to making the impossible happen in public education. And that we will do by making miracles happen for all our kids, by making SAISD a destination district. And what do we mean by destination district? A district where family and students choose to come to our schools because we're providing a well-rounded education. And we have seen evidence. We have 719 additional students. So the word is getting out there. There's some great things happening in all our schools. But we all want to go a step further. We want this to be a destination district for our staff, that they come here because it's a place to perfect their craft in their quest to really help students achieve their fullest potential so that they can really shape a future without boundaries. So that's where we're heading. And I am very proud to have been partnered with the San Antonio ISD Foundation with an initiative that we call Attend, Achieve, and Win. As you know, attendance matters. If our kids are not in our schools, they're not going to get the knowledge and skill to be the next superintendent, the next governor of the state of Texas, the next mayor of San Antonio, and the next president of the United States. So that's why we want our kids to be with us. But in addition to that, every percentage point increase in our attendance brings us $3.1 million. $3.1 million that the board has committed to reinvesting in our kids and having competitive salary for all our staff. So this year, thanks to the foundation and the generosity of Rick Cavender from Toyota Cavender and Don Frost from the Frost Bank, we are able for students who improve their attendance or have perfect attendance, they have a possibility of winning a brand new car. And let's take a look at what that car looked like. Okay, Roger, do you want me to have them visualize what it look? Okay, that's okay. We had this cool video, but I will tell you that our students have the possibility of winning a brand new Toyota RAV4 for having perfect. And I encourage you to visit the SAISD Foundation website because they have the parameters. So every 9 weeks, the students, if they meet, for example, 90% attendance, they get 1 ticket. If they meet 92, they get 2 tickets. They win 95, more tickets and more tickets. And they get that every 9 weeks. And at the end of the year, we're going to have an opportunity at Foundation to pick one, and somebody will walk away with a brand new Toyota RAV4. And I'm still going out there to other dealerships so they can give us more cars. So there's more possibility for our students and families to win. In addition, by the way, we're covering the taxes too. So it's completely free for our parents and family. And the foundation is also giving us every 9 weeks additional gifts that we can give to our students that have improved attendance. So to conclude my part and turn it back to Trustee Valdez, we are dedicated to making miracles happen for all our kids, because whatever it takes, our kids are worth that. And with that, I'm going to say this last comment. Two comments. I said it yesterday. I feel like I've died and landed in heaven in the San Antonio Independent School District. That's how much you guys have made me feel welcome and part of the community. And many of you know that the only unfulfilled dream that I have is that I was never able to experience fatherhood. But I'm grateful to Trustee Valdez and the rest of the board for entrusting me and making me the proud father of 46,000 beautiful children. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here. We look forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Aquino. As you can see, great things are happening in SAISD. It's amazing to see what our kids have done, what our teachers have done, what our administrators have done. So let's give Dr. Aquino and all his staff a big round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Aquino. So to go on with the presentation, I would like to remind, or rather, thank you, Dr. Aquino. We will now learn more about the redistricting process, and I would like to introduce to you the redistricting team. Wash Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson provides legal services to school districts and related entities in Texas. So the consultants that are doing this project are Tony DeCendes. Tony, please stand up. Eddie Hernandez and Andrea Macias. She's right there. So let's give them a round of applause for being here tonight. So please welcome them for their presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate this opportunity to come before you guys and work with the school board and the school district and the community to go through the redistricting process. So we're going to have a little PowerPoint, a little presentation, talk about what redistricting is, the timeline, and show you some of the changes, and then get some input if you have any and answer any questions. So let's see here. Get this thing going. All right, here we go. All right, presentation overview. We're going to talk about what redistricting is and when it's required, what type of governance structure the school district has, the requirements for redistricting, and what occurs once the process is completed. And then we're also going to talk to you about how you can give feedback regarding the process and the proposed map. So what is redistricting? Redistricting is a process by which the geographical boundaries of the elective districts here in San Antonio ISD, the 7 single-member districts, are periodically redrawn in response to the population change. So the idea is one person, one vote. We want to rebalance the population to be equal among the 7 single-member districts as best we can. And the idea is to make sure that everyone's voice is equal to the extent we can. That's the purpose of the one person, one vote. So San Antonio ISD is a board of trustees consisting of 7 board members elected to 4-year terms in single-member districts. Some districts have 7 board members, but 5 single-member districts, 2 at large. Some will have 9 school board members, but San Antonio ISD has 7. The next election is in May of odd number years. So the next election for San Antonio ISD is May of 2023. So the law requires that we get this done 90 days before the election, but we want to make sure we get it done before then so individuals will know what those new single-member district lines are. So why is San Antonio ISD redistricting? Well, because it's required. The law requires that you redistrict after the census data is reviewed. If the population between the largest district and the smallest district is above 10%, then you're required to redistrict. For San Antonio ISD, when we put the data from the 2020 census into our program, we determined that the differential is 21.7%. So that is above the 10%. So we are required by law, by the education code, to redistrict. What are the requirements? Again, single-member districts must be drawn with no more than a 10% variance in population. The single-member districts must be compact and contiguous. We have to be in compliance with the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. We cannot discriminate against any minority group in the district, in those single-member districts. The total deviation between the largest single-member district and the smallest either has to be at 10% or below. So those are the general requirements. And then there's additional criteria that we use. We want to use easily identifiable boundaries, meaning roads, streets, creeks, rivers, to draw the lines to make it easy for our election office to determine what district these communities are in. We want to preserve incumbent constituency relationships. Every single-member district trustee will stay in their current single-member district. As we adjust the lines and adjust the population, those board members will remain in their single-member district. Maintaining communities of interest and keeping neighborhoods together. In a few minutes, Eddie's going to go over some of the changes that have been made, and we're going to show you where the board took into consideration feeder patterns, trying to keep schools that feed certain high schools together and communities to correspond with that. So here is the census data, and you'll see that with the current single-member districts, the differential is at 21.7%. And this PowerPoint is also online, and this chart with all this information is available online. So if you want to take a look more specifically, but you'll also see that in the red, the ideal population that we want to get to is about 42,979, close to 43. So you'll see the largest is District 2 at 47,399. The smallest is District 4, 38,963. So ideally, you would think, well, let's just move population from 2 into 4, or make that adjustment. But you'll also see where 6 and 7 are kind of low. 5 is right around 43, so that's okay. And once we start, we'll show you, once you start moving the lines, it does kind of have a domino effect. It affects other populations and communities, and we need to keep those things in mind as we make the changes. So here is the current map and the draft revised map. And you'll see the dotted lines on the draft revised map showing the areas that were adjusted, where the population was shifted in order to create a balanced map to get the population within that 10% variance. So the school board took into consideration the legal requirements, the additional criteria of keeping communities together based on some feeder patterns, and we were able to come up with a revised draft map that we believe meets all the legal requirements and we believe will work for this community.
.com to
So
see
now I'm
how
going to
you
have
can
Eddie
attend,
Hernandez Pettis
achieve,
come up and
and
talk to you a
win.
little bit more about the specific changes that were made and within all the single member districts, but even more specifically in single member District 4.
Alrighty, thank you, Tony. So as Tony mentioned, we took a look at the data earlier, and there are two central issues that needed to be addressed related to population. The first was the size of District 2. So District 2 is the largest, has the largest population, and so that district needs to be rebalanced to bring the population down. And District 4, in fact, has the least population, the smallest population, and so we had to bring that population up. So those are the two core issues that are addressed through the redistricting process. But there are some other areas that were where lines were aligned with more natural boundaries, where the board took into account communities of interest and keeping them together, specifically around feeder patterns. And we'll get into where District 4 in particular is impacted in just a second. And again, like Tony mentioned, the goal is we want to have a stable map as much as possible. And so to the extent that it was possible, existing boundaries were kept as they currently are. So here we are again. This is what the effect of the proposed redistricting map. And so rather than having that 21.7% differential that Tony went over, the proposed map gets us below that 10% threshold. And we're, if the map is adopted, we would be at 9.1%. So we'll get into whether it's beneficial or whether there's a benefit if we could get that number even lower. It's not that simple, as we'll discuss in a minute. But as long as we are below that 10% mark, we are compliant with the law. And so we are in single member District 4. And so we're going to focus on single member District 4, but I'm going to go quickly through what the proposed maps look like for other single member districts. So here's single member District 1. And you can identify, you can see two key areas that District 1, there are changes to District 1. You can see the top corner here, the northwest corner, that's more or less the Monte Vista neighborhood that is moving from District 1 into District 6. District 6 was on the lower end of the population, and so the population was increased by making that change. And then there's a small change here between District 1 and 2. It was essentially to clean up the lines a little bit. So there's not a significant population there, but the change makes the boundary a little more natural. Single member District 2, again, the largest population. So you'll see that single member District 2, the boundaries were contracted a little bit. So the geographic area is a little bit smaller. And many of these changes overlap with the changes in District 4. And so we'll spend some time there in a minute. Single member District 3 grew a bit to the north, or I'm sorry, lost some population there in the north. And so here we are at single member District 4. So the key changes here are in the northeastern portion of the district. And the district changed to, the boundaries moved north. So this street here is, let me see, that's Iowa Street. Iowa Street here to the north. Martin Luther King Drive to the north of here. This is Walters Street. And then down below here, we move down to Rigsby. And this is Hammond. And then this little portion carves out an elementary school, which we will go over here in a minute. Single member District 5, was already pretty close to the average population that we were looking for. And so there were no proposed changes to District 5. And it's the only single member district that fell within that sweet spot. And so there were no changes proposed there. Single member District 6, I mentioned the changes that were reflected with regard to single member District 1. So they gained a portion here of Monte Vista, and then a portion here in the northwestern part of the district moved over to District 7. And then it grew a little bit here in the Beacon Hill neighborhood. to bring in. So the changes here reflect one of the themes that has come up in the redistricting process. These two changes in the northwestern portion here, the goal there was to move Arnold Elementary from single member District 6, which feeds into the Edison feeder pattern, into single member District 7, which feeds into the Jefferson feeder pattern. And the thinking there was the folks that send their kids to Arnold Elementary vote for District 7. And so it made sense for them to vote for the same single member district that their children attend. Similarly here, these folks feed into Beacon Hill Elementary and then into Edison. And so it made more sense for them to vote for District 6 than District 7. Similarly, those changes reflected here in District 7. So I mentioned the feeder patterns and the attempt to align feeder patterns with single member districts as much as possible. So here's an overview of those changes. I mentioned that Arnold Elementary moved from District 6 to District 7. Smith Elementary moved from District 2 to District 4. And Highland Park Elementary went from District 4 to District 3. And here's a few maps that illustrate the changes. Here's Arnold Elementary that moved over. Smith Elementary which is here, moved over from District 2 into District 4. And then Highland Park Elementary moved here from District 4 to District 3. So some next steps with regard to redistricting. The first step was putting together a proposed map. So the board has done that. The second step is what we're doing here today, gathering input from the community. And so whether you're here in person or you are viewing online, or if you're watching this on delay as a recording, you can provide your input in several ways. If you're here and you have questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to bring those up and we can address them here tonight. After gathering input, the board will adopt a new map. And no later than 30 days after adopting the map, the board will provide notice of the changes to the county. The next election in which the new map will be applicable is next year, so May 6, 2023. And the trustee districts that are up for election that year are single member districts 2, 5, and 6. For all of the other single member districts, those changes will have implications on the 2025 elections for them. San Antonio ISD will also communicate information about the new maps in a variety of ways. One is here in person, so to the community, also through the district's website, social media, and district newsletters. Here are a few other pieces of additional information. The first, which we've touched on a bit, but it's important to reiterate because I know this is top of mind for a lot of folks. The first is that the proposed changes to the single member districts have no impact on the outer boundary of SAISD. So the changes do not mean that the district is going to move into or encroach on any neighboring school districts. There's no growth on the outer edges of the boundary of the district boundary. The second, which I know is also top of mind for parents and students, this process does not impact zoning for schools and attendance zones in that way. So this is not going to impact where parents send their kids to school. That is a different process. It's not the process that we're going through now. And finally, redistricting, as Tony mentioned earlier, it's not something that the district chooses to do on its own. It's something that is required by federal and state law. So that's why we're doing it, following the 2020 census. In terms of opportunities for community input, this is our fifth, so second to last meeting. After today, we do have a meeting scheduled for next Monday, the 3rd at Sam Houston High School. And if you're interested in submitting questions, comments, concerns via online, you can do that by emailing community@saisd.net. And just to reiterate, District 5 does not have any proposed changes, but those folks that live in District 5 and have questions about about the redistricting process are welcome to join any other in-person meeting or online or submit their comments, just the same as any other member of the community. So here are two sources of information. The first is the district's website, saisd.net/redistricting, and an email address where you can submit any of your comments, questions, or concerns. That's community@saisd.net. And that concludes the formal portion of our presentation. If there are any questions, we can address those now. Were there any questions that came in online? So no questions online yet. We'll leave that open for a minute. Any other questions that may have come in from the community? Okay, well, there are a few questions that have come in over time that we'll touch on briefly. The first one is, some folks will look at the 9.1 proposed differential and they'll say, well, can we do better? Can we get down to 0 or close to 0? The district can certainly try to do that. The board can try to do that, but it's not as easy as just lowering a population in one place. Whenever you move a population from one district to another, it has implications on, Tony mentioned the domino effect. So when you bring the population down in one area, it has a trickle down effect on other areas. And also, by law, we're required to be below that 10% mark. And so that's what we strive for. And if we were to try to go lower, it may mean that the district would have to compromise on other factors like the feeder patterns, for example. The board may have to break up a community, a neighborhood, for example. And so it's not as easy as just bringing that number down. So that's why as long as we're below 10% and all of the other factors make sense for the board, we're compliant and we're able to move forward that way. We've received questions also about the census and who is counted in the census, and specifically whether undocumented immigrants are reflected in the census. And the short answer is that they're supposed to be. So the census is required by our Constitution, and the Constitution requires that we count people, not residents, not citizens. It's the number of people. And so undocumented immigrants are still residents of our community. They still come to our schools. They still contribute to the community and use resources in the community. And so they're supposed to be counted, but 2020 was an odd year for a number of reasons. And so in all likelihood, numbers of not just undocumented immigrants, but people in general were undercounted. But for better or worse, those are the numbers that we have. And so they're the numbers that we need to use. We've also gotten a question about why we use the general population as opposed to voting populations or registered voters or something like so other types of numbers, other types of data. Why general population? And the answer to that is that that's what we're required to do by law. So by the Constitution, we have to use those census numbers. And while it's interesting to kind of think about the implications on voting numbers and turnout and all of that, that's not what we're required to do. That's not what we're called on to do through the redistricting process. And in fact, if we were to prioritize those numbers, we may end up in a situation where if there's a district with a high number of voters and a district with a low number of voters, we're getting away from that one person, one vote principle. And so one community may have a disproportionate ability to elect an elected official of their choice. And so we're not permitted to do that. And finally, just to reiterate, attendance boundaries are not being impacted by this process. So are there any other questions from the crowd or online? I think we're all set then. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. It's a beautiful campus here. We've all enjoyed walking through and admiring the new building. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate y'all coming out.
Art. It's gonna be art. I'm just waiting for them to get situated.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Mr. Resendez and Mr. Hernandez for the presentation. Thank you so much. The only thing that I want to reiterate is that I do lose just one school in my district, and that is Highland Park, but I do gain another school in this place, which is Smith Elementary. So the boundaries do not change. They're all the same. The schools that are in my district still remain the same. Burbank, Harris, Lowell, Poe, Japhet, Briscoe, Collins Garden, Gravener, Green, Herf, not Highland Park. Highland Park moves into the other district. Hillcrest, Kelly, Riverside Park, and Young Women's Leadership Academy Primary at Page, and Knox Early Childhood Education Center. So those schools remain the same in my district. Dr. Giener, do you have anything else that you might want to go through? That's it? Okay.
Because I haven't done it in the other, I want to thank our Spanish interpreter and our American Sign Language interpreters. Thank you very much for everything and helping us.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming out. And we look forward to seeing the community at our upcoming events. Thank you so much. Thank you.